is the village where I grew up. It is as picturesque and quintessentially Italian as anybody would ever imagine. Life there was slow and simple. Organic food wasn't really organic food, it was just food. Also, as long as I can remember, I had this feeling inside of me, something was saying, you must leave. I didn't have a real clear plan or a clear dream, I just knew I wanted to leave. In the 1980s, for some reason, a friend and I were enrolled in a computer programming class. Now, you have to imagine this. This is the 1980s, a small village in central Italy. We had never seen a computer before. And there were about 20 of us in a small room with about 5 computers fighting over who would press the keys to make this turtle move on the screen. We were just fighting and bickering and making lots of noise, but nobody had any idea what the point was. Why were we there? Why were we learning this? Nobody had any idea. Also, we had a thick exercise book. Of course, at home, we had no computers. So, how were we meant to practice? We were given a keyboard. It was photocopied. So we were meant to practice like this at home. Computer programming was definitely not my calling in life, but words were. The name of this programming language that we were learning was Logo. In this case, Logo was not an acronym, but it derives directly from the Greek logos, word or thought. I love languages. I always loved languages. And many years later, I found myself studying linguistics, first in the United States, then at the University of Cambridge. And now, today, I've come full circle, because now I'm designing and delivering educational programs for engineers and computer programmers. How did that happen to me? I didn't have a clear plan. I didn't have a clear dream. Cambridge was too big of a dream for me to dream in that little village. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward. And as I now, today, look backwards and retrace all the steps until today, I can clearly see that there is one single thing, one single belief that has determined the entire course of my life. And that belief is my trust in learning. An unshakable and blind trust that I could learn. That's it. That's all I had. That's all I had with me. Now, after 20 years, I've had the pleasure of accompanying hundreds of people through education programs of different kinds. And I'm here today with you to share an important message, an idea worth spreading. That idea is that if you trust learning fully, that's it. That's all you need to do. Now, in my 20 years experience, I've had the opportunity of observing people learn. And people learning have taught me many things. And today, I want to share with you 5 lessons that I've learned. I hope that these lessons I share today will change forever the view that you have of learning. At least one of you. The first thing I would like to do is talk to you about dimension. How we see learning matters for two reasons. This is the first reason. When you're in school, and we've all been in school, you're definitely better at learning some things, at worse at learning other things. We're all like that. But what happens as we progress throughout our journey in education is that we get stuck more and more in a funnel. We learn more and more and more of the things that we know, and less and less and less of the things that we're not good at. That makes us develop a vertical view of learning. I'm going to challenge that for you today. The other problem with dimensional learning is that often, not often, I would say always, we hold a view of learning that is very strictly connected to education. I'm going to challenge that for you as well. Learning is not exclusively about skills, abilities, tests, results. Learning is so much more. Learning is multidimensional. I'm going to try and convince you today that learning is 3D. Learning is 3D because it's lifelong. It does not stop when we're young. It does not stop when we stop going to school and when we are in education. It can continue for the duration of our entire lives, when we're adults, when we're old, literally for our whole entire life. And this is why learning is lifelong. But learning is also life-wide. What does that mean? Well, when we think of learning, we think that learning is about classroom. You're in a classroom, there is a teacher, there are students, you sit down, you learn. Wrong. That is just one bit of learning that we can do. Life-wide learning can happen anywhere, in very informal settings, not with teachers. It can happen literally at any time, but we must develop self-awareness to understand and recognize moments when that happens. Finally, learning is life deep. Learning is definitely not confined to developing skills and abilities. We are hyper-focused on degrees, certifications, skills. And yes, I'm not discouraging you from getting more degrees and more certifications, but I'm encouraging you to think about learning beyond degrees and certifications and skills that have to do with your values, beliefs, cultural values, ethical beliefs that you can develop throughout your life. The second thing I would like to share with you has to do with growth. When you start understanding, I hope I've convinced you a little bit that learning is multidimensional, is 3D, you can understand already that learning is closely linked to growth. And our beliefs about learning matter a lot. Let me ask you a few questions. Are your abilities and your intelligence fixed? Are your abilities and your intelligence a set that you're given? Or can you grow them? Can you grow them substantially throughout your life? Is your potential predetermined? Can you learn anything you want to learn? Well, I know you've answered these questions. The answer to these questions is crucial. It turns out this is not just something I believe, but this is something that scientists, neuroscientists, and psychologists have researched a lot, so there is a lot of research into this. The beliefs we hold about learning and about our abilities, about our intelligence, and whether they're fixed or non-fixed, make a big difference about what we learn and how much we learn. When you start thinking about learning this way, you can start understanding that learning is transformative. The third thing I'd like to share with you, I'm a linguist after all, has to do with language. How we speak about how we speak about learning matters a lot. We are obsessed with this representation of individual success as an upward, linear progression to the top. The metaphor we use the most is that of ladders, climbing the ladder, climbing the corporate ladder, the social ladder, the political ladder, climbing to the top. This is toxic. This is really toxic because it's not realistic. This encourages us to view learning as a vertical race, an upward hill race to the top. The problem with this is that when we view learning as going up, we only have room to go up or to go down. The problem with that is that we don't see the horizontal plane and all the many directions we could go horizontally. The problem with ladders is also that you fall very easily off ladders. We must not measure our learning by how many steps we take up or down. This is a more realistic representation of learning and a healthier word. Let's replace from today on ladders with journeys. When we do this, we get less focused and less obsessed on results. Learning is chaotic. Learning can be circular. Sometimes you stop. Sometimes you're not going up. That's how it is. Let's normalize that. Let's shift the focus from results to journey. Let me introduce you to the fifth and last thing that I've learned from observing hundreds of people learn. Cross-fertilization. Who we learn with matters a lot. It turns out that, of course, people learn better with people, but who we learn with makes a difference, makes a big difference in two ways. Generally, we're used to learning in a very homogeneous group. People are same age, are same level of skills. I encourage you to go on learning journeys that are cross-cultural and also cross-disciplinary. I have seen magic happen when people are in the same room, but they come from all different parts of the world, from Malaysia to Costa Rica, and everywhere in between. And they have different background and skills. They sit down and learn with each other and from each other. In an interconnected global world, we need cross-cultural and cross-disciplinary journeys. We need to fertilize each other. Do you know what this is? This is how lucky I am. This is how lucky I am to see people do this. When people learn in 3D, when people start viewing learning this way, they're grounded, but they move 360 degrees. They're free from tests, results, skills, ladders. They're free to be and to learn. Let me leave you with one citation. This was written 50 years ago in a fantastic book called Future Shock. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. It is my wish and my desire. Oh, I'm not finished. Just a second. Thank you. It is my wish and my desire for every one of you today that you can view now learning differently as a transformational journey of self-discovery, of self-construction for the whole entire duration of your life.